And now a man who was once blinded by science, Ricky Cobb.
Oh yeah, and welcome, you sweet bastards. It's a Monday morning in Chicago. I'm Ricky Cobb, and this is The Ricky Cobb Show. I encourage you not to forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because this is a show by the people, for the people, and you, my friends, are my people. So jump in, comment, let us know what you're thinking. The more participation we have from you, the better we like it on this program. And in today's show, the NCAA Final Four is a lot like your high school teacher back in the 80s working at that blackboard. Boring and chalk. But we'll talk about that. And in the not boring category, damn the torpedoes. Because the New York Yankees are revolutionizing baseball bats and they're cranking dingers every time you turn around. Hang on. I'm being told that they just hit one right now and there's not even a game being played. That's how bad it is. We'll discuss that. Are they legal? Are they illegal? We got Super 70 sports tweets sprinkled liberally throughout this program. Got to be careful saying liberally on this show. Aggressively throughout this program. But we will begin with an interview with an NFL legend. I had the pleasure of sitting down this morning with Hall of Fame quarterback, three-time NFL MVP, Brett Favre. Brett, as is always the case this time of year, people are focusing on the new crop of quarterbacks that are eligible to be drafted. And of course, this year's just a typical case of that. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. A lot of talk about Shedeur. People saying, well, his attitude maybe rubs some people the wrong way. Is he too brash? Is he too arrogant? When you are looking at a young quarterback coming out of college, Brett, if you were an NFL executive, what are the things that you're looking for mentally and psychologically from somebody that you'd be investing in to be your franchise player?
Well, first and foremost, you have to believe that player is a winner and will elevate the guys around, not only he and the offense, but the defense. It's kind of like if you're asking me what makes a great coach great, it's the coach that can make you believe you can win every game. And, as a quarterback, how far you throw, how fast you throw, how fast you run 40, all the measurables, I'm not going to say are not important, but is the guy a winner? First and foremost, is he a winner? Will he reach deep down and not only gut it out for himself, but for the team? And I think Shedeur has that. I think, rightfully so, the attitude and the things that are in question, they're going to put a lot of money towards not only Shedeur, but a lot of other players. And you want to know, does he have the complete package? I think he does have the complete package. And I had a chance to get to know Shedeur very well the last few years. Dion and I are really dear friends. And the kid can play. And he's smart, very smart. And I think that's going to carry him a long way, barring injury and not going to the wrong team, which is something you never know. But I think he's very capable, and I think he's a great leader and physically can flip that play. So we'll see.
Somebody that I know you've been asked about a lot in recent times is Aaron Rodgers, because people look at where he's at in his career and they draw back to the parallels with you. Yeah. Of course, not just being the franchise quarterback of the Green Bay Packers for the length of time that each of you were, but the move to New York and the results in New York not being what really either one of you would have wanted. You obviously elected to move on. You went to the Minnesota Vikings and had an incredible bounce back season at the age of 40. Aaron is, I believe, 41, will be 42 this coming season. When you look at what he did in New York this past year, do you think that he still has something left in the tank where he could come back and have, a renaissance year like you enjoyed in Minnesota?
I do. I think he definitely has. Maybe they've diminished somewhat with the skills that has made him the great player that we all have come to know. I think he still has that. I don't know where he is mentally, and I think that in itself will ultimately decide whether he comes back or not. I think physically, but Achilles, I haven't talked to him. So he looked at the end of last year pretty similar to what he had looked like, in his last 5 years with the Packers. And that was good. The guy can play. He's extremely smart. It's just whether or not he wants to go through it again. I just don't think that the competitor that he is will throw in the towel. And, if he can find a team, I think he wants to win and have another chance at the Super Bowl. So he's got to find that team that gives him the best opportunity and hope that they are willing to sign him. So, I think he's got what it takes. I think he's got plenty of juice left. I just don't know where he is mentally.
Brett, when you look at the landscape, a lot of teams they're filling that position. Seattle just got Darnold, Russell Wilson to the Giants, and so on and so forth. Minnesota and Pittsburgh look like they may be the best options for him potentially there. How do you think he fits, at least on paper, into either one of those scenarios?
I think that you're absolutely right. Minnesota, we saw what they did last year. Sam Darnold was a big part of that. I was a little bit surprised that they chose to let him, seek employment elsewhere. But it's the nature of the business. J.J. McCarthy is the young kid who is the future, or their hopes of the future. But they have a really good veteran team. And so, I don't know if they want to take on Aaron. I hear these, different, thoughts from the organization said no, whatever. But I think that they'll have some leaner years if they go with McCarthy. And I think he's very capable of leading this team. But if you go with Aaron for a year or so, you get the potential of getting into not only the playoffs, but maybe a championship game or maybe even the Super Bowl if he plays and stays healthy like we would expect him to. So I think that they got that good of a team. Pittsburgh, quite frankly, is not a whole lot different. Well coached defensively, they're stingy. They just need some consistency in playmaking at the quarterback position, and they have a potential chance to get to the big game.
Brett, what do you think about Sam Darnold? You mentioned Sam Darnold, the Vikings electing to let him walk. Seattle scoops him up on a huge deal. But Darnold, a lot of questions came up. That last game against Detroit where he was so inaccurate in the red zone, and then the playoff game with the Rams where it seemed like he was holding on to the ball too long. When you're a quarterback who has struggled, obviously came in with a great pedigree, took him a number of years to find it, and then, man, it seemed like he really found it last year. But then those last two games, does that shake Sam Darnold's confidence, or is that something where people, may have kind of scared themselves out? Maybe Minnesota scared themselves out of a great quarterback there by becoming concerned there at the end. How concerning are those last two games?
Well, if it's your organization and you're the GM or you're the owner or you're that person that makes the important decisions. The challenge is, and it's always a toss-up. I think Sam Darnold's overall performance last year speaks for itself. I think he had an incredible year. I was happy to see it. I don't really know Sam, but I was happy for him. Those last two games, I don't think, it happens. It happens to everyone. You don't have it one day, or the stars are not in line. I haven't studied those two games. I watched them as a normal fan would have watched, so I don't know, how much he missed in regards to reads or throws or things like that. But it wasn't what we had seen in the previous games for last year with Sam. But I think his overall body of work was very impressive and made, their decision very difficult. Do we continue with Sam and shelve our young kid, or do we move on and hope for the best with JJ? Tough decision, but I think Sam has proven himself now as a very, very capable quarterback.
Brett, one more NFL question here for you. The competition committee is going to be voting tomorrow on the Tush push. And I don't really know what to expect. I've been reading about it. We'll see what happens. As a quarterback, Brett, what are your thoughts on the Tush push, and where do you come down on whether or not it should be allowed to continue or not?
Well, I really don't have a dog in the hunt per se, but why would you remove that from the game? As far as I know, no one's gotten hurt on the Tush push. And I'm not saying that I'm a fan of Philly. I'm not saying I'm a fan of the play itself. But sounds like to me, no one's been able to stop it. So the best way to stop it is to get rid of it. So I think it's ridiculous. Again, if someone has gotten hurt because of that play over and over again, that's maybe you look at it, but just because you can't stop it, there's no reason to disband it.
Yeah, it's a great point. If it was that impossible to stop, it seems like other teams would be executing it as well as
absolutely, Ricky.
I was just going to ask you before, I know you got to run, but in following your X account, it's clear not just on the issue of fitness for our children. You're very involved in looking at things that are going on in our culture and in our politics, and it seems that you're not pulling any punches in terms of letting people know what you think. You've been vocal on the issue of biological males competing against girls and women. Brad, as you look at this going on in our society, it seems like a solid majority of us just have the common sense opinion that this isn't fair, that it's not right. That certainly seems to be your take. What do you think, as a guy who's competed at the highest levels, as a father, when you see this going on, how do you feel about it?
Well, I can't believe we're talking about it, and we're having to talk about it, and that it's an issue. And I've never in my life wanted to be political. Never thought it would be political, but I feel like, and I have two daughters, they're grown. I got three grandsons, and I'm at a point where in my life where I'm starting to think about what will our youth in the next generation be facing down the road. And it's become more and more important to me, as it should. And I think for the most part, more so conservatives, in my opinion, have stayed silent, kept their beliefs for the most part to themselves, which is okay. But the other side has not sat quietly and has pressed the issue on a lot of things. And we have to unite and speak up when need be. Otherwise, we're just going to be trampled over. And I wish both sides could agree to disagree, and maybe that will happen someday down the road. But right now, I mean, I think there's some issues that have separated both sides a great deal. But, not wanting to protect our girls is, by allowing biological males to compete. Why not have a category for men's sports, women's sports, and trans? To me, that would be the best way to appease everyone. But and maybe that'll happen someday. I don't know, but I don't think a biological male should be able to compete in women's sports. I mean, I just think that that's ridiculous and dangerous, quite frankly.
Brett, as you look at the climate, obviously things are so hot now in politics. It's harder than ever to find consensus. It seems to be we're polarized, and the other side, we're talking about Elon Musk is being called a Nazi. We're seeing all of these people trying to destroy Teslas, and from everything from attacking the dealerships and burning the cars and shooting the cars to all these folks that are getting caught on candid camera keying Teslas and things like that. When you see this going on, what do you think?
Well, my first thought is, it's frightening, it's scary, because if you really think about it, well, back up, Elon Musk several years ago was a Democrat, and they loved him. He was the most brilliant inventor and smartest guy ever, richest man in the world. He was on the pedestal. Now he is working for free and trying to make this country better. And does he need it? Does he need to do that? If you want to ride off and fly off into the sunset and buy several islands and never be heard from again, he could do that. And the same could be said for Trump. And so this guy's doing it because he loves his country. And people are hating him for that. And I hate it for Elon. I know he's going to be okay. He's a lot smarter than all of us, and he's pretty resilient. And anyone who is willing to do what he is doing for this country deserves all the accolades that you can give him, not the negative backlash. And I just think that the left in this case, and in a lot of cases, is very evil to even remotely attack this guy the way they have is absolutely crazy. So it's really frightening.
You just co-authored a very interesting op-ed that appeared on OutKick called "The Great American Comeback: A Stronger, Healthier Future for Our Kids." Brett, obviously you're passionate about the issue of physical fitness in young people. What prompted you to get involved with this, and tell us a little bit about it?
Well, it's real simple, Ricky. Abe reached out, asked if I would be a part of this initiative. And as you said, I'm all for not only taking care of myself, but I have 3 grandsons. I have 3 nieces, all about the same age, that live here right by us. And, it made perfect sense for me. I think we as a country can be healthier in a lot of ways, mentally and physically. So I was honored that Abe would ask, and I'll do my part. As you know, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's and had some back and some other issues. So I was always about taking care of myself before, but even more so now. So what we eat, what we breathe, what we drink, all those things matter on top of get out and walk, whether it be weights, maybe it be bike, maybe it's a run, whatever it is, continue to do it. Or if you haven't done it, start because it's only going to help you. So I was honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, Abe Hamaday, the representative from Arizona there, co-authoring that with you. I just don't think kids, they don't get out the way that we did. We didn't have anything else to do, Brett. We went outside because we were looking for entertainment, and now they've got all the entertainment inside.
Well, Ricky, it seems like we have this around my house or with my friends here. At least once a week, we have a conversation about what is this generation of kids going to have that brings them together or that they can talk about. Like you and I, our generation, we all watch the same shows. If we like soap operas, then that was what you got during the day in the summer. But we were all out playing because no one wanted to watch soap operas. We had a lot of the same things in common. This generation, not so much. And, there are a lot of kids that get out and do things. But if you were to say to just a random kid today, have you climbed a tree? They may look at you like you're crazy. So what we're trying to do is get people off the couch, out the house, and get them active. It's as simple as that.
Well, Brett, it's certainly a good thing here. You can see includes a 1 mile run or walk, pull-ups, curl-ups, set-ups, shuttle runs, sit and reach. Certainly things that would help anyone get in better shape, and certainly important for children as well. Brett, always a pleasure to have you on the program, sir. We appreciate your time. Brett Favre, good luck with the Congressional Fitness Challenge. It is a really good thing, and hopefully it will take off and gain momentum. Have a good one, Brett.
Yeah. Thanks, Ricky.
So Brett Favre just this morning sitting down with me, and just a note that Brett unable to speak about the legal issues that he continues to have ongoing in the state of Mississippi. There's a gag order in place on that, and Brett is unable to talk about it. So if anybody is pissed that I didn't go the full Mike Wallace 60 minutes on him there, that's why he can't talk about it. But I'm going to bring in a man who can talk about goddamn near everything now, from an NFL legend in the opening of this show to a cornhole legend who now joins the program. I speak, of course, of the international streaming star who joins me from Nashville, Tennessee. He is, of course, Ronnie T-Shirts. And Ronnie, I know that you've been standing by. You've watched this Brett Favre interview. What stood out for you?
I agree with him on two things. I mean, we probably agree with him on a few other things, but there's two things that stood out that I agree with him on. The first, and it was just kind of just staring me in the face the entire interview. Dude, I agree with this T-shirt. Everything hurts. Like, I think 90% of the people that follow you on X would probably agree with everything hurts.
That is a relatable shirt. If you are on the north side of 50, I saw somebody post the other day. They said, enjoy your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s, because once you hit 50, the check engine light is going to come on. And I'm finding that to be true as I go in to get the results of my MRI this Wednesday. Yep. So yeah, everything hurts. And we didn't play in the NFL either. Michael Strahan and guys like that didn't bounce us off of the ground either.
I think about that all the time, like, oh, what if I would have been serious about athletics when I was younger and did everything I could? What would my body feel like right now? Like, my body feels like crap right now. I can't even imagine what it would feel like had you spent. I mean, some of these guys, I mean, even let's say you've got say a 5 or 6 year NFL career, which is a little bit longer than the average, but let's just say you do that. So you played 4 years in college, 5 years in the pros, high school. So what are you looking at? 13 years of pretty intense football. I can't even imagine what my body would feel like right now. And I didn't do anything. Like you said, dude, I played cornhole and my body hurts.
Brett, agreeing with you on the tush push.
Yes.
By the way, I did
Because
notice
he's a man.
that.
Because he's a man. That's why. I mean, if you don't
I'm in
agree,
agreement too. I've come around on the issue, Ron. I think
stop it.
You argued it. You prosecuted the case successfully. I agree with you. I don't like the tush push. Like, if we could go back and it just prevented it before it started happening, I think I would have been in favor of that. But since we're not omniscient and we have to react to things after they happen, it seems to me just to be very unfair to the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. They're really the only other team that does it with any sort of success that would, seem to be a problem. So
Brett made a good point.
Look, he did.
He made a good point. Well, he made a good point that I actually haven't made in my argument. And so if I ever have to make the argument again, I'm going to use what he said. He said, nobody's getting hurt. Like, if somebody was getting hurt, well, then it's absolutely something we should look at. Nobody's getting hurt. Just be better.
And that's one of the arguments I think that is being made by it was the Green Bay Packers who put this forward. And one of the things I read is that they are saying that, there's a greater chance of injury, but there's no data that backs that up.
Yeah,
they're just speculating.
They're speculating to make their case. Yes.
The real reason is they don't want Jalen Hurts to score as many touchdowns. Appears to be the real reason.
That sounds like
I am with both of you guys. Ron, we had the godfather of bracketology, Joe Lenardi, on the program, Joey Brackets.
I remember.
And that was a lot of fun having him on. But you and Joey, you had a little exchange, and you told him that you were predicting chalk. And he was like, well, it could happen, but it's unlikely. So. Well, here we are. Ronnie Brackets.
Ronnie Brackets.
Maybe is the new nickname.
Yep.
Because it's chalk as fuck, Ronnie. It's chalk as chalk gets. If it got any more chalky, we'd have to go out back and pound the erasers together to create the cloud of chalk dust that was always a privilege when I was a kid. Kids would fight each other for the right to do that.
So here's my big takeaway. Here's my big takeaway so far from the tournament. Cooper Flagg is awesome. Like, I know I am not breaking any news to college basketball fans, but I've watched him more in the last, week and a half than I have all season. Holy crap, Ricky. Kid's 18 years old.
Ron,
like, he just turned 18. He's so good. So good.
He is really good. Can we get that graphic back up again? Because as I'm looking at it, you notice that there are a tremendous amount. As I follow the tournaments and things online, there's so many photos of guys like making faces, like getting pumped up or whatever. Right. And I look at this and it looks to me like, if you look at it, 3 of those guys look like they just got hit in the nuts. And the guy in the lower right looks like he's like, holy shit, they all just got hit in the nuts.
Clayton.
That's my takeaway, Ron. Can we find more flattering photo? How would you feel if like every promo of this show was just like you or me just going, whatever, we just...
I mean,
like, there he is, another episode.
Ricky, to steal something from you, Ricky, break it down like only you can. Like, you're the only person.
Well, I'm just sitting here and I'm watching. I'm like, this is the best we can do. Hey, look, Auburn, nut shot. Duke, nut shot. Florida, less lethal, but still a nut shot. Maybe a nut got grazed. And then the other guy's like, holy shit, look at that.
He's like, damn.
I don't know. Every photo of college basketball players that I see anymore looks like this, but I don't know. Who do you like here, Ron? Who have you got in the finals? Remind me.
I think Duke has been consistently, from what I've seen, the most dominant team. So I'm going with Duke to win it all. I had Florida at the beginning of the tournament, but I was basing that off not a whole lot. But now watching it, I think Duke is going to win it.
I like Duke's coach, Ron.
Shire. He's from Chicago, isn't he?
I do. Yeah, he is. He was a high school legend up here in Chicago, and won a national championship as a player, and he had big shoes to fill coming in. Coach K,
I might say the biggest
on the short list. Yeah, I mean the short list of the greatest to ever do it, and certainly he has that program humming. But yeah, Cooper Flagg, I'm excited to see Cooper Flagg. I've heard so much about him this year. I've seen some Duke action, but not as much as I would have liked. So it'll be interesting to see. If he wins the championship, that would kind of be the perfect anointment for him to enter the draft and be the number one pick, which I have to believe he is going to
he will
be. Ron, things not so good for Dan Dockich's beloved Indiana Hoosiers, however. 10 days after hiring their new coach, Darren DeVries, every active player on their roster has entered what Dan so lovingly, or who is it? It was Tom Izzo who called it the transfer urinal.
Yeah.
So there you go. Here's the nice thing, Indiana. Here's the good news, Indiana. You got a new coach. Here's the bad news, Indiana. You don't have a single goddamn player. So what do? Did they just reach into the candy bowl of the transfer portal and just grab 10 M&Ms or grab a dozen Starburst or whatever they can get their hands on and construct a Frankenstein roster? Is that what we're looking at here?
I mean, unlike any other time in history, they're going to just go and they're going to find players who are really good from mid-majors and smaller colleges. And those kids are going to be able to immediately play. And you're going to go to them and say, here's some NIL money. And you're going to most likely be a starter in the Big Ten. So it shouldn't be difficult for them to find players. But we had this conversation last week. I don't know how the chemistry is going to be when you've got nobody that's ever played together before.
It's so fucking weird. Like,
so
as
weird.
a fan, if you are a fan of any team, but let's just say Indiana in this case, if you're a dyed-in-the-wool Hoosier fan, and you end up in a situation where your entire roster is going to flip now, plus the coach, what the fuck? Like, how attached can you be? You really are. Jerry Seinfeld used to have.
I was just going to reference that.
Sports is rooting for laundry.
Yes.
Right? You really are rooting for laundry. Kids who are probably, maybe none of them are from Indiana. We'll see who they bring in.
Right.
But they have no connection to the college. They're all just hired guns, literally hired guns now.
Yep.
You're bringing them in. They're not really students. They don't have any connection to Bloomington. Your coach is new. How much of a shit can you give about this team?
Well,
honestly,
Ricky, when we talked about this last week, I said, man, how it is right now, I'm okay with it. I'm still an Ohio State fan, but I could see a spot in the future where if this were to happen at Ohio State, I could see myself going, nah, I can't invest my time and money like I have my whole life when it's just these players that are just getting shuffled in, out. Like, there has to be some kind of a relationship between me, the fan, and the team. And there's going to be no relationship. There's going to be no relationship next year.
Yeah. It matters, doesn't it?
It matters a lot.
We're not getting to a point where it doesn't matter. Because, back in and again, to do the old back in my day. Back in my day, guys were there for 4 years. So, I mean, you got to know the players and your juniors and your seniors, your upperclassmen. You had a relationship with them. You had watched them come in. You had watched them, in some cases, develop, right? And so you had a connection to those players. And now we're just shuffling the deck so much. I don't get it. Ron, speaking of things that I don't get, until about, I don't know, maybe 48 hours ago, I had never heard the term torpedo bat. And now I feel like I'm a semi-expert. Not really, but I've heard so much. The Yankees on Saturday beat the Milwaukee Brewers 20-9. They hit 9 home runs. And there's a torpedo bat. I believe that's Jazz Chisholm there. They hit 9 dingers. They became the first team in Major League history, Ron, to hit home runs on the first 3 pitches of the game. Nestor Cortez of the Brewers, left-hander, who has been a Yankee, he got traded to Milwaukee in the offseason, came out to face his old teammates in the Bronx, 3 pitches, 3 dingers. And now we know that these torpedo bats have moved the center, they've moved the mass. If we can get another look at Jazz Chisholm's bat, the barrel has essentially been reconstructed here. And Ron, you take a look at it, the torpedo bat on top there, and just looking at it, I know it may be an optical illusion, but it just looks bigger. If you just said to me, hey, go grab a bat, I think I would grab the one on top.
This feels
it certainly has created a bigger barrel.
Well, it's kind of like this kind of like the Fat Albert bat, right? Like it's just bigger. This feels like we could have this. Is this the tush push of Major League Baseball?
Well, this could be bigger than the tush push because you only worry about that on 3rd or 4th and 1.
Oh my point was,
dude.
You figured something out, and now, well, we don't want it because you figured out something.
Everybody.
Right.
But in this case, everybody can mimic it equally, right?
You still have to be able to hit. You still have to be able to hit the pitch.
A certain size and athleticism.
Yeah, you still have to be able to hit the pitch.
You got to be able to hit the pitch, but bro, like you imagine handing one of these fucking things to Barry Bonds in 2001?
Add steroids in the torpedo bat.
Hit? That's what I'm saying. And there you can see a Minnesota Twins player with one as well. That bat also looks like it might be aluminum. I might be more concerned about that. We might need to take a closer look at the Minnesota Twins. If that thing goes ping, I would send it in to New York for inspection, Ron. But, as of now, these bats are legal. Now, is this something that we want? Is Major League Baseball going to want? Because believe me, all you got to do is look around. Everybody noticed those home runs. Now, not every Yankee was using a torpedo bat. Aaron Judge hit 3 of those 9 home runs. He's using a regular bat.
Okay.
And they asked him about it afterwards, and he was basically like, well, I kind of feel like things have been going well for me. Why do I need to change my bat?
Did he say, I'm Aaron Judge? He goes, well, I'm Aaron Judge.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to hit 60 bombs with just a regular bat. You can go talk to the mortals on the team and ask them how they feel about it. Look, I got to believe in short order, it's a copycat world, whether it's professional golf with driver head technology.
Yep. Tennis.
Every team, if they think that there is an edge that they're losing out on, when you look at all the data and analytics, that every team now has a whole crew of people who are crunching numbers and looking at launch angles and spin rates and all of this stuff. I think the amazing thing to me, as much as anything, Ron, is that somebody didn't think of this sooner. This was actually done by a physicist that the Yankees
There's the Fat Albert bat.
Yeah, there you go, the red bat. It was always an awkward moment when somebody needed the red bat. Yeah, Timmy, you can play with this, but you got to use the red bat. And I want to use the yellow bat like everybody else. Motherfucker, you went 0 for 46 yesterday. The yellow bat is no longer an option for you.
Oh, it's so true.
The Yankees have elected to take the red bat, and they're just beating everybody's brains in with it, apparently.
Hey.
So
Bet
I
the
mean,
over. Bet the
you
over
tell
on
me.
Yankees on Yankees total runs every game now. Just bet the
Yeah,
over.
I mean, geez. I wonder how long is it going to take before torpedo bats are going to be all over the big leagues. I would say not very long. I don't know who's making them. I don't know if the Louisville Slugger company is cranking them out, but I got to believe that we are going to see a lot more torpedo bats until if and when Major League Baseball does something about it. And maybe they like it. I don't know. We've talked so much about how, pitching has become more and more dominant. Batting averages are down. Strikeouts are up. That's been the trend for a long time. Maybe these guys could, use something to even the scales a little bit.
Yeah, it's actually scary to think about is if college tries to do that with the aluminum bats, because those aluminum bats, I mean, people hate them anyways because they think they're so dangerous. Could you imagine if they figure out that they can do that with aluminum? Somebody's gonna get hurt.
Oh, they're already loaded.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.